Mike Kern, Missouri Valley here with Adam Emmenecker and another shoot around. And Adam, the net rankings came out on Monday. The league is sitting in a very good spot this early in the season with 7 teams in the top 100. The league rated ninth overall after being 15th last year. Talk a little bit about your perceptions on where we are this early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Mike, great to talk to you again. Great to be back for another Valley season. We're into December already, past the Thanksgiving break, and to be 8 games into the season for a lot of these teams, and you talked about it, 7 in the top 150 for the first net coming out, and I think there's a couple things that are going on. I think part of it is the teams that we expected to maybe be at the top of the league and get some of that national type exposure are doing their thing. But then you also have a couple of the surprises. So how about UIC checking in at 52? 52 in the net ranking. Really impressive what we've seen out of them. The only losses right now in the non-conference at Cincinnati. 1-point loss to Greensboro, so quality losses outside the league and quality wins against GW and Little Rock, and they also beat Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee State beat Stephen F. Austin by 30, who Drake beat by 20. Or excuse me, said that backwards. Middle Tennessee beat Stephen F. Austin by 20 plus, and they beat Drake pretty significantly. So part of what you see out of this UIC ball club, they just look a lot more solid, a lot better. I really like Isaiah Rivera. He's 3 times over 20 points, has just brought a scoring prowess to that group and just a calm to transfer from Colorado State. And Toby Oconee, I think, has really taken a step in the right direction as well. And a big win outside the league for UIC over former Valley Flow Loyola.
Yeah, when you talked about surprises in Evansville, picked to finish 11th out of 12, and they are not playing like a team that's going to finish 11th. Talk a little bit about your perception on the Aces and their quick start. They have BYU tonight. BYU ranked 13th. Talk a little bit about what your thoughts are on David Ragland's ball club.
Yeah, I mean, what a surprise, right? It's 6-0 and off to a hot start, and most of the games they really haven't even been close. I think the transfer Humrickhouse from Huntington University, he's been great. Ben Humrickhouse, 19 points per game, really brings a versatility to that group. They've gotten good guard play, a surprise win over UNI to go to 1-1 in the league. And this Evansville group, they're not going to be where they want to go yet. I think they still have some holes that they're working through and filling, but I love the way this team plays. I love the way they fight and shoot. Sitting right now 1-1 in the conference, and they're 7-1 overall. That's a pretty stinking good start. Not many people were expecting that, probably even within that Evansville locker room.
Yeah, when you mentioned, let's go back to the net a little bit and talk about the teams that are near the top of the net for the league. Indiana State at 22, their only loss without Robbie Avila against Alabama. Drake also up there in the top 60. Though your perceptions on those two teams who are picked to finish in the upper half, of course, and Drake, the preseason favorite, Drake and Indiana State.
Yeah, I had Drake 1 and Indiana State 2 in my preseason poll. And maybe just quickly on Drake. So the things we knew, Tucker DeVries, now the reigning player of the week, and Darnell Brody, those two were going to be a force to be reckoned with. 10 new guys for that Drake roster. And I think Coach Darren DeVries, they figured it out on the offensive end. They're still working on the defensive side. And that's been such a hallmark for him the last few years. So Drake is off to a good start, but I think can continue to play a little better. But gosh, what we're seeing out of Indiana State, man, oh man, that first Valley game against SIU, Coach Church's bunch, was just clicking on all cylinders. I thought the guard play with Julian Larry and Isaiah Swope, pressuring full court, getting in you strong, able to break down defenses and get to the rim, and just having a guy like Robbie Avila, who's tall, right? 6'10", can score it on the inside. He can shoot it from distance, but I think he's a really underrated passer. Coach Schertz can help run the offense through Avila, and he creates mismatches. So I love that they like to play fast, but I think the biggest difference this year is that team locks up on the defensive end and they're a nuisance. I think Indiana State through the first 2 games, not only and getting the win on the road at Bradley, right, through the first 2 games, sitting at 2-0, man, I think this team, the future is very, very bright in Terre Haute.
Yeah, you talk about Indiana State's wins and Southern Illinois' losses to JMU, a ranked team, and to Indiana State. They have Oklahoma State on Tuesday night. very rare does a team from the Big 12 or any power conference come to a Valley City. A big opportunity for SIU, who beat SLU by 40.
That's what I was just going to say. So how do you recover from the loss to Indiana State? I mean, Indiana State put a beat down on SIU, a 40-point win over St. Louis. Like that, I don't think many people around the country saw that coming. I'm going to be working the Drake game Wednesday night here, Drake against St. Louis. I know the Drake coaches are looking at that game a little bit unhappy with SIU because that SLU team is going to come in with a bit of an axe to grind.
Yeah, that's another opportunity for the league. We've got a couple this week. Take a look at the schedule to kind of pick out a couple of games this week that are really important for the league to maintain or build on that number 9 conference net ranking.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Oklahoma State at SIU, Evansville's playing at BYU. I think a big one for the league, honestly, is Richmond at UNI. We didn't talk about UNI much, but the Panthers sitting at 2-6, one of the hardest strength of schedules in the country. So you usually a 2-6 team, and you kind of think, man, they're going to be at the bottom of the league. Remember, this team was picked top 4, number 2, right? So pick top 4, pick number 2 in the league, and one of their wins is 20 points against Stanford. So this Northern Iowa team can play, but have struggled getting on track, struggled with the consistency, have a lot of guards, not a lot of bigs, but getting a win against a quality opponent like Richmond would go a long way for UNI. So just a couple games coming up in the next few days. And man, I like the little in-league taster that we got, Mike, just a little bit of a taste to try to see where teams are and get a reality check. But looking forward to everybody cheering for everybody again in the non-conference, ticking up a few more wins.
Well, you're right about that. Everybody will be cheering for everybody until we get to Christmas, and then we pick up league play again. But we've had a great start. Looking for a great finish to the non-conference schedule in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks, Mike.
Great. Thanks, Adam. We'll talk to you soon.